Hey everybody, it's Dr. May. How are you? All right, so here we're doing emotion regulation skills again today, and today's topic is check the facts. Okay, so this is a good one for us to do. Very helpful. Okay, so let's do a quick review of what emotion regulation is. All right, so emotion regulation, skills designed to help us manage our emotions better so they don't get too out of control, or so we don't use destructive things to try to control them. So we can control, let's say, or manage how intense they are, how long they last, which emotions we experience, and how they can even work for us in a positive way, right? Because there are some benefits to emotions, as we talked about. Okay, so today's skill is called check the facts. Okay, super important because we want to be grounded in the truth and be accurate about our perceptions. And from there, once that's the case, we can make better decisions about what to do and how to cope with whatever's going on. Okay, so check this out. You remember this one? This one's from the core mindfulness module. Okay, this is the 3 states of mind that are talked about there. And it's coming up again, okay? We can't get away from it. So we talked about then emotional mind, which is when emotional drive us are kind of leading us to, act from our emotions and think from our emotions. And sometimes we're not always that accurate when that happens, right? We're not always grounded in a really clear version of reality. So in order to balance emotional mind, we have reasonable mind. So reasonable mind is very related to check the facts, because reasonable mind part of the brain has to do with logic, with reasoning, with thinking things through, with getting perspective. So all that kind of stuff could help us to check the facts so that we know what's true and what's not true. Okay, so take a look at this one. So check the facts, why bother? So sometimes our emotions are telling us certain things about our situation. And our emotions and our intuition can often give us very useful information, and we should definitely tune into them, okay? But other times, they're not as accurate. Because sometimes our emotions are coming up because this situation right now is reminding me of a past situation. But this situation actually might be very different. So it's giving me like a misread of what's going on. And when I'm really emotional, the thinking part of my brain isn't as active and online. So if I'm reasoning from my emotions, I may not be perceiving and seeing things as clearly as I could. So I can make some mistakes in judgment and perception and understanding of those things if I'm just going from my emotions. So in order to get to a better version of the truth, we need to check the facts, okay? And see if, that could affect the way we handle things. Okay, so what we could do is ask ourselves a series of questions. So we could call them like reality check questions. So things we could ask ourselves to get a clearer version of what the reality actually is. Okay, so the first thing is just define the situation we're dealing with. So what is the event that's prompting my emotional reaction to begin with? All right, and just like we talked about with the describe skill, right? We talked about in mindfulness, observe, describe, and participate. We want to think about the whole situation, kind of be very accurate and thorough, and describe to ourselves what's going on. Okay, try to avoid judgments and black and white thinking and extremes that'll kind of skew our perception, right? If we were just reporting the facts as if we were watching it on a movie screen, what would we actually say about what's going on? Okay, so I'm going to use an example throughout this process to help illustrate it. So let's say the example is the girl texted her boyfriend and she hasn't heard back from him in like a while. And she's not sure what that means. And she's starting to worry. Okay, so describing the event is she texted him yesterday at 2 o'clock, and now it's today at 7 o'clock, and she hasn't heard back. All right, those are the facts. All right, maybe she could also add in the facts of what their relationship is like, how long they've been together, how he's handled things like that in the past and what it's meant. So the whole big context could be part of the facts of the event that you're looking at. All right, so next is based on those facts, how am I interpreting those facts? What kind of thoughts am I having based on about that event, right? So there's what happened and then there's what I'm thinking about what's happened. And I might be seeing it through the lens of my emotions. Okay, so how could I check out to see if my interpretations are right? Well, that's part of the check the facts. Um, Sometimes we can't get the answer right away, but what we can do is we can look at other possible scenarios, right? So for example, maybe that girl's first thought is, he doesn't love me anymore and he's going to dump me. Okay, so that's possible, but what else could be happening? Maybe something happened to his phone. Maybe he just needed a break. Maybe he's a little upset and there is an issue, but they could still work it out, right? Maybe there's other things that she didn't think of right away that are actually possibilities, okay? And it's important for us to entertain those possibilities. And even just doing that could make us feel a little bit more calm and balanced about the situation. All of a sudden we start going, oh, okay, maybe it's that. Right? So we're kind of thinking about other stuff and it's diffusing it a little bit. We're not as rigid about what we think. We're not assuming just because I think it, it's got to be true. Okay? Because sometimes we think all kinds of things and they're not true at all. All right? All right. So next question. Am I assuming a threat? Right? When we feel more emotional, chances are we feel threatened in some way. If it's not physically threatened, it might be that our inner self is feeling threatened or our ego is feeling threatened, right? That someone's attacking us psychologically in some way. So maybe she feels threatened that, you know, there's something wrong with me because he doesn't love me anymore, or our relationship is under a threat, right? So that could be a possibility. In a different scenario, she might actually be physically afraid of the guy, but it doesn't sound like maybe that's really going on in this case. Maybe she's just worried about what it means because he didn't get back to her. Does he love her? Does he not love her? You know, things like that. Okay. So if it's not a threat, what else could it be? Right? Maybe again, it wasn't intentional. Or maybe he had something else to do and he did tell her and she forgot about it. I don't know. All kinds of other things could happen. So exploring those other scenarios can be helpful here. Okay. Does my emotion and emotional intensity fit the facts? So this is a two-part question. So let's do one part at a time. When you say, does my emotion fit the facts? You're kind of saying, is my emotion justified based on the cause? And when we do opposite to emotion action and problem solving for emotions, we're going to talk about what justifies different emotions, what triggers different emotions typically. All right, so for example, if I lost something, does it make sense that I'm depressed? If I feel like I'm going to be threatened by something, does it make sense that I might be fearful? Or if someone blocked an important goal, does it make sense that I'm angry? Okay, so those emotions fit those facts, right? It kind of, those are typical causes for those emotions. All right, so the next part, does my emotional intensity fit the facts, right? If I lost my boyfriend and he broke up with me, I might be really upset about that. So that could make sense, especially if he was a really important person to me, right? If I lost a pen and I went off the deep end, maybe that's a little bit not so appropriate for that situation. Maybe I should be a tiny bit upset, but not like crazy upset, right? In that sense, maybe I'm going off the deep end. I'm a little bit too intense to fit the facts. You see what I'm saying? Like, am I overreacting? You know, should I say, listen, it's not that big a deal. Maybe I can let it go, right? Sometimes we overreact. Other times we don't, but we got to check it out, right? Am I allowed to let myself calm down and it's okay? Maybe, I don't know. We'll have to check the facts, okay? Next, sometimes we make a huge deal, like make a mountain out of a molehill, right? We think it's going to be a catastrophe, a disaster if this feared thing happens to us, right? So let's say the girl is terrified that her boyfriend's going to leave her, okay? So sometimes we get to that, like the scariest part of the story, and then we stop the film, and then we just stay with the fear, and we go, oh my God, right? Oh my God, he didn't text me back, and now he's going to leave me, right? But okay, this is what you do for this question. All right, so he does leave you. Okay, so then what? But I'll be without a boyfriend. I'll be single. That'll be terrible. Okay, so you'll be single for a little while. Then what? Well, I don't know. I'm going to have to find someone new. Okay, so you join a dating app. You date around a little bit. And then what? But I don't know. I might have all different kinds of people. It may not work out. All right, so you'll still be single for a while. And then what? I don't know, I have no one to talk to but my friends. All right, so maybe you'll build your friendships a little bit. See what I'm saying? Like sometimes it's not always as awful as we think if we just keep taking it to the next level and asking ourselves a question. Like literally answer the question. Sometimes it's not as horrible as you think, right? And we're capable of dealing with all kinds of things, and sometimes we even could surprise ourselves with what we could handle. All right. Oh, I guess that's it. I forgot that was the last question. Okay, so that was fairly quick, right? So we could do this from time to time. It's a thinking skill, right? We just got to ask ourselves the right question, and we could do this with somebody, right, to help us gain perspective. So we don't, pump up ourselves and make ourselves way too emotional when it's not even necessary, right? It helps us cope a little bit better when we can be grounded in reality and think it through. Okay. Well, that makes sense to everybody. And see you next time. All right. Take care for now. Bye.